Ukrainian forces advance 1,300 meters on Berdiansk front? Ukrainian Deputy Defence Minister.
Here's a summary of the article.
Ukraine's defense forces are making gains in southern and eastern Ukraine, advancing 1,300 meters on the Berdiansk front, 1,200 meters on the Klishchivka front, and 1,500 meters on the Kurdyumivka front. Quote from Malier. Our defense forces are continuing to mount an offensive on the Melitopol, Berdiansk and Bakhmut fronts. Enemy forces are continuing their attempts to advance on the Lyman, Avdiivka and Marinka fronts, but are unsuccessful. Details. Malier also reported that Ukrainian defense forces are also making gains on the Rivnopol-Volodine axis, where they are currently consolidating their recently captured positions and inflicting significant losses on Russian forces. They are practically bleeding the enemy's offensive capabilities dry, destroying their equipment, storage depots and command centers, and killing their personnel. On the Bakhmut front in eastern Ukraine, Ukraine's defense forces have regained the initiative. Ukrainian forces advanced by some 1,200 and 1,500 meters on the Klishchivka and Kurdyumivka fronts respectively. The Deputy Defence Minister also reported that the Bakhmut front is once again hot, with intense fighting taking place across the front.
This post received a score of 21,000, with an upvote ratio of 92%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Greater than Ukraine's defense forces are making gains in southern and eastern Ukraine, advancing 1,300 meters on the Berdiansk front, 1,200 meters on the Klishchiivka front, and 1,500 meters on the Kurdyumivka front. I hope it did not cost them too much, and they get in behind the Russians on one of the fronts.
Exactly. It may not seem like much in such a huge country, but they are still in the process of bashing through the Russian defensive lines that have been there since last summer. Once they are in open land, it will accelerate. And Ukraine still hasn't committed the majority of their battalions they prepared for the counter-offensive.
There are 2 or 3 or more lines of Russian fortifications, though on almost all fronts with many km between. The advance is still the best part of 20 kilometers or so from Tokmak based on the latest from Institute for the Study of War etc. So at best they are currently getting through the first of these, which seem the least difficult to break. I'm sure almost all of us here want them to be successful as quickly and painlessly as possible, and maybe as they keep going the Russian lines will start to collapse like a house of cards and we see a Kherson or even a Kharkiv Mk2. But I really don't feel people should be under any illusion about what an awful, horrible, bloody struggle this is likely going to be.
Taking back long-held land is brutal. The top comment on posts like this are always, I hope they didn't lose too many men, but the reality is, they probably did. It sucks, but retaking land requires a lot of sacrifice. Retaking it may even be more difficult than it was for the invading army to take it in the first place.
Greater than retaking, it may even be more difficult than it was for the invading army to take it in the first place. There's no may here. They've been digging in for a year to hold this.
Longer. Some of this land now is Donetsk, right? They've been fortifying parts since 2014. Right before Russia invaded, the Ukrainians were gearing up to do a final push to reclaim Donetsk, so it was being fortified up then with Russian help.
They're speaking about the southern front though. Right now they're trying to push south to reclaim Tokmak, Melitopol and maybe Mariupol in order to cut the land bridge to Crimea. Russians captured this territory after their full-scale invasion.
Reminder that the front line is full of trenches and mines. They need to clear the mines before reaching the trenches, then clear the trenches and keep position, then again clear mines and so forth. Don't expect a thunder run, there are heavy fortifications. Edit. Fixed a typo. Sorry, I am not a native English speaker.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.